Hey, so tonight I wanted to talk about something really interesting, or at least interesting to me. I was thinking about this when I did the review of the iPhone EarPods, the headphones I use every day, and a big thing that's important whenever you're making a decision or whenever you're analyzing something is reference. And then when it came to that video, the reference that was so important to get was what it was for, what I was comparing it to. And I realized that it wasn't necessarily clear in that video, but that reference in itself is a much larger topic. One of the things I've heard said is that comparison is the death of joy. I've also heard that comparison is one of the things that leads people down the path of darkness, is always trying to achieve better than someone else and always trying to be the best. Although I don't know if that's necessarily the worst thing ever, but it can lead to evils, and I've heard it in kind of that negative connotation. But why I want to call this reference, and what I think is so important about this reference, is because comparison is something that you do naturally. It's the easiest way for your mind to see the difference. And in order for you to see the right kind of difference, it's important to choose the right kind of reference. So, in the video about those headphones, the big reference there was any other $30 headset, right? Or any other $30 listening experience that you've had previously. I know I have seen, I've had gift cards to places and just bought, whatever headphones I could afford from that place when I couldn't find anything else, or other things like that, and ended up with some really terrible listening experiences, especially for the dollar. And so I think reference is so important there, because if I'm comparing these headphones I use every day to some West Tones or some Odysseys or some super nice in-ear canal phones, it just doesn't, the listening experience isn't the same. I mean, it's not even close, it's not even comparable. So I mentioned in that video why, the purpose of why those headphones are so good for me, based on the form factor and other things. But when I was thinking about this reference topic, I was thinking of how much more metaphysical it is, in that providing yourself with a reference can really kind of frame your connotations or your feeling about a specific subject. It's come up a lot reading How to Change Your Life. I think it's in Ernest Holmes' book, How to Change Your Life. And it talks a lot about, in order to change your life, you have to start letting your mind let go of the things that you don't want to experience and start focusing on the things that you do. Now, one step further than that, you want to already be what it is where you want to be. I guess that's a really silly way of saying that, but when you're talking about setting a goal for something, or I guess even better, just thinking about your life and where you are now, it's so important to have the reference. Because if your reference is Kanye West, Kim Kardashian, John Mayer, Warren Buffett, even people like Ty Lopez, or who are these other YouTube stars, the Oxcaster, any of these other really big stars or really big people today, if you set yourself up to that kind of a reference, it's difficult, at least for someone in my position, to see the equal. But when I reference where I was 3 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, 2 years ago, the difference is remarkable. And sometimes I get lost in seeing how much farther ahead of me all of these other people around me are. Or sometimes I get stuck in the reference of referencing people who I shouldn't be referencing, meaning people who shouldn't be referencing in the other way, which is people who aren't even close to where I am. Now, they might have different goals, they might not set goals at all, but that's not the point. The point is, for you, how can you use setting your reference to help you? Now, let me give you an example. Whenever I do a mix, for example with this beat I just made, I always will mix it and reference it, and master it and reference it. What it means is I go to songs that sound similar, that I know were produced well, that I know were mixed and mastered super well, and I'll go and I'll make sure that the coloration between the two match up. And I think what's really important is when you get started, don't even do that while mastering, just do that in mixing. Like if you get 3 elements, reference, and then build from there. Now the point is to not get sucked into, don't start referencing when you don't have the idea down, because that's another creative suck. But if you start referencing, then you can kind of compare the differences sonically to your track versus the track you're hearing. And especially when you're referencing for a mix rather than a master, it's always important to turn the master that you're referencing down quite a ways so that you can get the mix correctly. And then when you're referencing the master, you can kind of turn it up to get the same coloration, the same sound that way. So I feel like you can do the same thing in your life. You can kind of skip a step, right? And it's not necessarily skipping a step, it's just making sure that what you are creating is relevant, right? And I think that really applies to real life, is to say, like, these things that I'm manifesting, these things that I'm focusing on, these things that I'm fixating my life on making happen, I want them to be according to the right reference. I want them to help me build wealth. I want them to help me become a happier person. I want them to help me in relationships, or, you know, I want them to help me have more fun even. I think that's something that can be forgotten, but when you can combine all of those, and when you can reference either things that you dislike in order to make yourself happier, reference things that you're not doing that you dislike to make yourself happier about the things you are doing, or reference how things were, or even reference how things could be. Like any day that you feel really down, I feel like it's really important to take yourself out of the moment and to really get perspective. I mean, right now, I don't have the most expensive gear. I don't have the craziest studio and all the amazing toys that I want to make music with, but I have exactly what I need. And I have way more than a lot of other people have. And I've been given a lot more experiences to get me to the point where I am now, where if my reference is, you know, where I want to be in 15 years, then it's kind of depressing. But if my reference is where I was 3 months ago, like I mentioned, it's way different. So that is kind of what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, about reference. I realize I'm very disheveled and sick sounding and everything, but it's an idea I really wanted to get out, and I was feeling really productive, and now seems to be the time, so here it is in the raw. Yeah, reference. Let me know what you guys think. I'm really wanting to see if I can start a conversation here. I really want to see if I can start people talking, not just about reference, but about a lot of other topics. I feel like one thing I'm really focusing on is what is my purpose. And my purpose is to make really good music and to learn as much as I can. And I feel like the best way for me to learn is for me to start conversations with people who know stuff. And so I'd love to do that. So if you have questions, or if you have a response, or you think I'm wrong, or you think I'm right, or whatever, leave it in the comment section below. You know, find me on my website and email me, or start comments on my blog. 'Cause I'm happy to learn more and talk more about it there. So thanks so much. Have a good night.